Yeah, but I think so because this is a passion of mine, like just trying to understand like what makes a villain, what makes a hero. I've brought it into my writing classrooms, and my students really respond to it. So we talk about the role of audience, right? You write in your free time, so you know, like if I'm writing to audience A or audience B, I'm going to write differently if I'm thinking about writing, right? So I give them one of these clear-cut villains, normally from Disney because it's something they can access easily from their childhood.
Okay.
And I give them a new audience. So your audience is no longer a kid in the 90s. Your audience is a modern 25-year-old who wants to feel empathy. So I give them the motivation. So you
almost
have to,
like a young adult read kind of thing.
So you need to reimagine this scene with this villain and rewrite it.
So what do they add or take away then from the original narrative? What's different?
Is that the story and the characters remain the same, but the way they're writing it has to change fully when the audience changes.
How so? Give me an example of something.
So like if they're writing to that, they're given the original version, right? Because it's normally the 90s Disney version of a villain. And that was for, like we talked about earlier, that kid who needs to understand this is a villain and they need to understand that quick, right? So like Cruella de Vil.
The hair alone.
There was a movie that was redone, so I have to take her off my list now, giving that villain empathy, proving my point that a modern audience wants the more complicated gray villain. But they have the original. Now, how do you retell that? So before this movie came out, I had a student kind of reimagine Cruella de Vil's childhood and kind of explain why she is the way she is.
What did they add in there that would have said, okay, I get it. This is why, this is their testimony. This is everything why they're doing everything in the future. What did they add?
One example comes to mind. I've taught this probably the last 5 years in classrooms, and it's just it's like a mini activity just to understand the role of audience. But one thing that comes to mind is, well, if we think of Cruella de Vil and we add in the picture of mental illness, right, that changes how I feel about that character. And does that appeal more to this new audience I'm trying to appeal to if I add in that detail?